And we usually try to get back to before school day ends, but last year was a little bit later. So it was about just a little time afterwards, after the school day ended. Give me one moment. Okay. So the students up there get to do lots of different classes and activities. We are TBD on actual classes right now. We are waiting to hear back from Snow Mountain Ranch, but these classes are led by us STEM staff members, the Snow Mountain Ranch education staff, and then we have assistants from the high school leaders that come along with us from STEM. Some examples of activities that we do up there are archery. We do climbing, we do rock climbing. It's an inside climbing exhibit. They're right by archery, which is great. And then they do a mountain ecology class. So they go on a hike and they do some ecosystems and learning about some different plants, animals in the forest. Then they do snowshoeing. They do a winter survival. They could possibly do a winter survival, which is building their own snow caves and learning some different winter survival skills. They also do sometimes in the past, they've done building their own snowshoes. We will see if that will be a chance for us to happen this year. And then they do some different pioneering activities. They do winter sports such as cross-country skiing as an option. And we also do some cool team building activities in the local big arena, that's the Kiva. So those are just some examples of the different activities that they might get a chance to get to do up there. In the evening time, we do a lot of just fun team bonding, just fun activities to do in general. So we do tubing or sledding. They do some ice skating. And then we have not in the past got to do a bonfire. We will see if that happens this year. A big area that they get to do all these fun evening activities and hang with their friends and really get to spend time with their peers. It's a place called the Kiva at YMCA. And they can go roller skating, play volleyball, basketball, volleyball, ping pong, different games. It's a really cool, unique evening thing for all of us to do as a fifth grade because it's a really good bonding experience for them. Here's an example of how our schedule works when we are up at Snow Mountain Ranch. We really have a earlier wake up call, but it's not that much earlier than when kids go to school. We will get dressed, get ready, and then we all head out to breakfast together at the dining hall. That's just about 5-minute walk. Then they come back and get ready and prepared, get up all and dressed in their snow gear. They get ready for the day. And this is just an example of a schedule that could happen. So they usually do a couple of classes during the day. So for example, they here could do archery and then go 2 hours later and do rock climbing. Then we have a lunch break, usually just about noon to 1 o'clock in the daytime. And then they get ready to go back to class after lunch. And then they might do something such as winter survival in the afternoon. Then we go snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. Then we have dinner about between 5 to 7, usually in the evening time. And then we did tubing and ice skating last year on the last day. So that was during a day thing. Usually it is. And then they have kind of some time to relax in the evening time. And then they do bedtime prep and then lights out. Usually it's 9:30. In regards to food, when we are up there, if certain students have certain allergies or dietary restrictions or needs, we can be, Snow Mountain Ranch is really good at accommodating for those students. As we try to make sure that kids are selecting healthy choices when they are on this trip and not eating just all the junk food and things like that. They have some really good nutritional options up there, making sure students get their protein, their vegetables, and their fruits. And we ask that kids have healthy beverages, so no soda. They can drink juice in the morning, water, things like that, is just to make sure that they get good nutritional value, especially because can be some really tiring but fun activities throughout the day. And then just make sure they're staying and having good restaurant behavior, because we are not the only participants up there. There are sometimes families up there at YMCA as well. In regards to rooms, last year we had 5 students per room. And usually we're in a lodge, so it's kind of dorm style living a little bit. So there's usually 2 double bunks and then 1 full or queen bed. And so there will be two, for example, 2 boys on one bunk, 2 boys on a different bunk, and then the 5th student in the room will be in that bed on their own. And then each room has its own attached bathroom for that 5 students of that group to use. And then we do take in student requests for who they want to be their roommates, and then we'll make the final decision based on behaviors and what kids really work together and could be good roommates together. And then we also, for boys, will be on one floor, and then girls will be on a separate floor. And we will spread out the high school leaders throughout the different floors. And then Mr. Chang will be with the boys on that floor, along with probably our IA. And then us female teachers will be on the girls' floor. In regards to emergencies, we will have our cell phones on us at all time, and we usually have pretty good reception up there. And we will have all emergency contacts, parent emergency contacts, the school. And if for some reason parents need to reach out to us, please contact our elementary office or some administrator, and then they will get in touch with us or any staff at Snow Mountain Ranch if something needs to be shared with the kids, or just there's an emergency or anything like that.
Ms. Addison, I'm going to go back a slide because I saw a few questions about rooms and roommates. No, roommates are not required to 5th grade homerooms at school. Students are able to put in roommate requests, and then based on our observations from classrooms and the student requests, we try and guarantee that they have at least one of their requested people as a roommate, but it is throughout the whole entire grade level based on gender. So the boys will be able to select from all of the 5th grade boys. The girls can select from all of the 5th grade girls as well. An additional thing with rooms, students are only allowed in their own individual room. They are not allowed to go or permitted to go into the other rooms because that is the other 5 people who are in there, their personal space for the week that we are there. So if you want to see what we are up to, we usually use an app called Cluster, and it is a private app for picture sharing, messaging. It's approved through Douglas County and through STEM as being a secure site. We will be sending this link out in the email, but it's a really awesome place. This is also where we provide updates on arrival times back at school. So when we were going to arrive a little bit late because of snow, I was able to send a message to parents on Cluster and say, hey, we're about 30 minutes away, just to kind of give an idea there. One thing with Cluster, we try and put a ton of pictures on. However, we are not professional photographers, and our main goal is to try and help keep the students and the children safe. So if there is a time where we feel like it's an appropriate time to take some pictures, we will. And then usually we don't have an opportunity to upload those pictures or to do much communication until we have a Wi-Fi connection, which is usually in our lodge room or in the cafeteria. So we do our best to try and keep parents updated. It just sort of depends on Wi-Fi and access. Packing and supply lists. We are going to be sending the packing list home with students tomorrow, and that list is yours to keep. So at Snow Mountain Ranch, all of the classes are conducted outside in the rain, in the snow, in the 10 degrees below zero. So we want your child to be able to stay warm and dry while we are there. And so we have a packing list with different things. They really need to make sure that everybody has full winter gear and multiple layers. And the winter gear needs to be waterproof. So in the past, we have had students who have brought multiple hoodies and then a really thin windbreaker, and that's not going to be sufficient in order to be able to be outside for the long amounts of time that we are. Another thing, gloves and mittens get extremely wet. So bringing extra gloves and mittens or extra socks are always good things. Another thing, and I see some questions about technology. This is meant to be a outdoor experience. And so there is supposed to be absolutely no technology at all. And that includes smartwatches. So no phones, no cell phones, no, I think I said smartwatches, yes. If students want to bring a camera, they can bring an actual physical camera, but we aren't using any sort of technology at all. It's a really, really great opportunity for them to have some outdoor experience. Oh, as I said, the packing list is yours to keep. And we will be talking to the students about this packing list as well. We wanted to try and be able to provide this list to you guys before Christmas break, before winter break, because we know that sometimes parents like to take a little bit extra time trying to gather some of the different items. Pricing and paperwork. We are still working, like Miss Addison said, on the actual activities. So the official cost for the trip is to be determined. In the past, it has been around $275 to max. I do not think it's probably going to be this high, but max of like $350. So we will let you know as soon as possible once we have all of that information. All payments are going to be made through my school bucks, so no cash or checks can be delivered to teachers. It all has to be done online. And then medical lists, pricing, paperwork. Tomorrow we are also going to be sending home yellow medical forms, and I'll get into each one of those. White permission slip forms we will get sent in January. And then there's a blue packing list and then a blue page with some other additional medical information as well. That will be coming tomorrow. So one of the forms that is required by Douglas County is this overnight field trip health form. And this must be completely filled for every single student. Even if something does not apply, we need to make sure that you have seen every line. And so please make sure that you put NA in every single spot. Because if we see one spot that isn't filled in, we will have your student take it back just so that we know every single thing has been looked at. One item of note on here, it does mention if your child needs or would request a bottom bunk for sleepwalking, bedwetting, different things like that. There is no location for students who get car sick. So if that is applicable, if you could just let your teacher know, we can try and make sure that they are a little bit closer to the beginning of the bus. The second medical form that you guys will be receiving is this provider medication authorization form. In order for staff members to give any sort of medication at all, that is prescription or over-the-counter meds, per Douglas County, this form must be filled out by your physician. So we know that sometimes can take a while to get appointments. And so that's why we are sending this home with students this week. We also will be sending a digital copy if you want to or need to send this form digitally to a provider or a physician. But if there's any sort of medication at all, Tylenol, Tums, any of those would need to be noted on this provider authorization form in order for us to be able to do. And it is a higher altitude up at Snow Mountain Ranch. And with being outside all day, sometimes students can get headaches. And if we do not have an original bottle provided by the parent and this form filled out by a doctor, we cannot provide your child with any sort of pain relief while we are up there. So I believe it's this slide. So this is a really good spreadsheet. Does your child take any medications? Yes or no? If no, as a contingency, do you want us to be able to provide your child with anything at all? Then you would need to have this form filled out. If you are okay with your child not taking anything, then you do not have to fill that one out. These are some of the forms that will be sent in January. So we have, some of them are repetitive. However, they are the forms that are required for STEM, and then we have the forms that are required for Douglas County. So some of them are a little bit repetitive. So we have the STEM overnight field trip form along with the transportation form that contains the insurance information. Then we have the Douglas County forms. These are the ones from last year. We have the Douglas County emergency consent form. And then the last one that we'll be sending is just a simple release from YMCA that they ask us to fill out for just the waiver of liability and risk. So finally, just some last little odds and ends. When you are packing, please label all property with first and last names or initials, especially on tags, works great. We last year had so many things left over. Usually what we do is we will gather all of the leftover items, the lost and found. We will bring it back to school after a few days of the students just being asked if it's theirs. We will kind of take some pictures and put it on cluster to see if any of them can be claimed by parents. Please do not pack the bag for your student, pack it with them. So that way they know what they are bringing with, so that then they are more likely to be able to arrive at home with the things that you sent them with. Due to timing of our departure on Wednesday, we will arrive at Snow Mountain Ranch after the cafeteria is closed, so we will need a sack lunch for Wednesday. And most likely we won't be able to get into our lodge rooms due to cleaning. So, and we will remind students of this as well. So if we could pack their winter clothes that they need in their day backpack, so that then they can get dressed for the outdoors after lunch when we arrive. So finally, questions. I know Ms. Ackley and Mr. Chang were going through our questions kind of as we were going through the slides. But if you have any additional questions, I believe there is a possibly raise your hand function. Otherwise, if you would just want to type your question into the question and answer form, we can work on getting those answered. Ms. Ackley or Mr. Chang, have you seen any that we need to kind of address?
Can we address snacks?
Yes. Do you want to kind of talk about that a little bit?
Sure. So YMCA does not want us to have snacks in the rooms just because they attract wildlife to their facilities and they don't want to be bringing wildlife in. So we ask the students not bring their own snacks outside of that sack lunch the first day. But we will have a couple of snacks on hand as staff members, knowing that sometimes kids just need food. So we will have a few things with us, but please don't send your child with snacks per YMCA.
And there are lots of different options for meals. It's a buffet style, so students are able to go back as many times as they would like. And so it usually only takes about one class activity session outside for them to realize that they're extremely hungry, and they start loading their plates up and choose to eat when it is time to eat. So it doesn't take very long before they realize that they are starved and make good choices when they're eating.
So I know we had a bunch of questions about parent chaperones on the kind of initial survey. Christina, did you want to talk about that?
Sure. Thanks for reminding me about that. So we do not take any parent chaperones on our Snow Mountain Ranch trip. It is all of the chaperones are teachers. So we usually put it out to the rest of the teacher community and ask if there are a few additional adults that would like to come with, so that we have a little bit more eyes on our group of students. We also bring 5 male and 5 female high school chaperones. Part of STEM's thing in high school is that they get volunteer hours. And so we put it out to high schoolers to see if they would like to volunteer some of their time. They fill out an application. We get references and recommendations from high school teachers. And then those students come with us on our trip, and they are also part of the leadership aspect for students, so that we have a little bit more mature and a few more eyes on our students as we go throughout our day.
I see there's another question too about emergencies and coming to pick up your children. So last year, if we did have a few kids that might have gotten sick and they needed to be picked up early, if there's an emergency, we will contact the parents, and then parents would need to come up and get their child from Snow Mountain Ranch. We would provide all the information, how to get to exactly to where we're staying and things like that.
And we did have, like Ms. Addison said, we had quite a few students end up getting sick, unfortunately. Another thing with having to come and pick up students, Snow Mountain Ranch has a 3 strikes and you're out policy per their staff. And so if students are acting out disruptive, being disrespectful, things like that, once they receive 2 strikes, it's usually a phone call to parents with the student on the call with the teacher. And then if it continues to happen behaviorally, then parents are asked to come and pick up their child. Last year, we did not have a single issue with that. I do not expect that to happen again this year, but just to be aware that if there were to be some unacceptable behaviors, that is the expectation, is that parents would come and pick up children. I see a question about stuffed animals. Yes, I went over the packing list pretty quickly. I know that it's hard to see as it's so small, but one of the things that we did mention on the packing list was a comfort animal or item. So if they have a comfort, like little pillow or blanket or stuffed animal, that is more than okay for them to bring. I know for a lot of the students, it's sometimes their first night away from a family member. And so those type of items are more than welcome to be brought. Pocket money to get a souvenir. We do not have any opportunities for any sort of items. There's nothing really at the YMCA campus to buy souvenirs for. And when we are on the bus, we go directly from school all the way up to Snow Mountain Ranch. So we do not stop on the way. I see a question about when the forms are due. So all of our medical forms are going to be due February 1st per the nurse. She has asked in order to be able to get all forms and medication organized appropriately and safely, she needs to be able to have some time in order to be able to log all of that. And so we are asking for the medical forms to be submitted by February 1st. And I haven't talked with the other teachers, but I would assume that the rest of the forms are also going to be due by February 1st, just so that we can make sure that we have all of the pieces that we need.
I see a question about swimming. So in the past, YMCA does have a indoor swimming area, but due to last year, because it gets very, very cold up at YMCA, it can get into the negatives. Swimming will not be happening this year just because it is a bit too cold for them, because the swimming located area is about a half a mile walk from our lodge that we are staying at. So it was just a kind of conclusive idea that swimming might not be happening this year.
It was very, very rough last year. We had endless kids in tears, hair frozen in strings. So it was just kind of, STEM decided that it was not the wisest thing or the healthiest thing for our students to participate in while we are up there. There are tons of activities in the Kiva last year, and I don't know about Miss Addison or Miss Ackley, but I have to say the night that our whole entire grade spent 2 hours in the Kiva was one of the best nights. And I see them nodding their heads as well. It was a blast. The kids had so much fun. Just being able to hang out and interact and play in the Kiva. So that is something that I am looking forward to this year.
Are there any size restrictions on suitcases and bags and so things like that?
Good question. No, however, students need to be able to carry it themselves, and they need to be able to carry it possibly in stow. So suitcases, items of any size are allowed as long as the students can manage that themselves, even if they need to take multiple trips.
And also all needs to fit within our bus. So just
Yeah.
be reasonable when packing those bags so that they fit underneath.
Mhm. That is a good point as well. We do know and we understand that winter gear and layers can add up to a lot of space. When I was packing last year, I was not expecting to need that much because I was like, oh, it's 2 nights, big deal. Yeah, I needed a whole entire suitcase just because winter stuff takes up more space. But yes, we do have bus size and then even storage in the rooms themselves. So, if you have additional questions, we are more than happy to stay on and chat with you for a few additional minutes. Otherwise, we are basically done. Thank you guys for coming. As I mentioned, the blue packing list will be sent home tomorrow or this week, depending on if your child is at school tomorrow. I know we have had a lot of sick kiddos. And then we are also sending those medical forms so that those can, if needed or if desired, those we can get started working on those as well. And those will be sent tomorrow.
I'd like to just say thank you for everyone who was able to join us this evening. We really appreciate it, and I hope you all have a great evening.
Yes, thank you.